Hello Rebels and welcome back to my life. It's Writer Wednesday, the day each week that we talk about tips and tricks for writers, whether self-published or traditional, and today I want to talk to you about voice. If you've been writing for any length of time, you've probably heard of the concept of author voice, but if you're anything like me, it's a confusing concept at first. Everyone tells you that as a writer you need to find your voice, but what is voice? How can one tell what one's voice is supposed to be? How can one go about finding it? The most common advice is just to keep writing, and this isn't bad advice. If you just keep writing and writing as well as you can and writing as much as you can, you will find your voice. It may take you 100,000 words or it may take you 2 million, but you will eventually find your voice if you just keep writing. However, much like you can wander a town endlessly and eventually find your friend's house, but a map will make the journey much shorter, the journey to find your voice can be reduced greatly in time if you actually know what you're looking for. Your voice is how you write. Sounds simple? Really isn't. There's more to writing than your vocabulary or knowing sentence structure and grammar, because the same sentence can be written in an infinite number of ways, none of which are wrong. That's why I can tell you that 2 dogs ran happily through the park, or I can say that a pair of noble and glorious canines frolicked happily in the sun as they ran through an outdoor garden whose flowers shone like the lanterns of heaven. A lot of people obsessed with Hemingway would tell you that that second one had way too many words, but tell that to Charles Dickens, who could write one sentence about those 2 mutts that would take up this entire 4-minute video. Some people say that fantasy should only ever be written in verse like Tolkien's, huge and epic and harkening back to the first stories ever written in English, but tell that to Brandon Sanderson, whose characters speak with dialogue so familiar it's almost modern, or George R.R. Martin, who lies somewhere in between. Any sentence can be expressed an infinite number of ways, and the way that you generally choose to express yourself is your voice. Now, when you start off, your voice will be inconsistent. You are so flooded with so many years of hearing so many other people's voices that, like a child trying to speak for the first time, you're just imitating what you're hearing. On this page, you'll write one way, on that page, you'll write a completely different way, but as you continue to write, you learn how you actually like to write, and you will write that way more and more. The ways of expressing yourself that aren't your voice start to fade away, and soon everything that you put down on the page is pure and unadulterated you. So that's why people tell you to just keep writing and you'll find your voice, but you can speed the process by continually analyzing your writing and asking yourself, how do I think I ought to write this? Because voice is both a choice and a personal preference. Hemingway didn't write his short, clipped phrases free from flowery prose and dialogue because that was the rule. He did it because he thought that's how it sounded best. And Dickens didn't write sentences so long they filled entire pages because he didn't know what a period was. He knew what a period was, and he threw it out the window in favor of commas and more than a few dozen semicolons. Tolkien grew up living and breathing and osmosing the great epic poems that formed the basis of the English language, and he decided that if he'd ever write his own stories, they would be in the style of Beowulf, if not the language. What's more, you, one person, can have different voices, 1,000 of them if you want. Do you think I write my epic fantasy the same way that I write my contemporary sci-fi thrillers? No, I mean, they share similarities, of course, because I'm still me, but they're 2 completely different ways of talking, like dialects. If you're looking for it, you can begin to recognize your voice, and that is what voice is all about. Recognition. You show me a page of Chuck Palahniuk, and I can tell you that it's him, more so than if you show me a picture of him or play a tape of him speaking. An author's voice, once honed and perfected, is more unique and identifying to them than their fingerprints. Find what makes your writing unique, what makes it uniquely yours, the way you think that everybody else ought to be writing anyway. And when you find that, you have found your voice as an author. Thanks for watching, Rebels. I want to give a special shout out to my supporters on Patreon who make all of my YouTube endeavors possible. They're really cool people, and if you want to be one of them, click the Patreon link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!